Good morning, everyone. I think that's the official notification that we should start this morning. My name is Greg Feeney, and I am the provost here at Bluegrass Community and Technical College. And it is my honor to welcome you to Creating Understanding, BCTC's first LGBTQ plus conference. I am happy and grateful to welcome you. This may seem like another conference, but this one has been years in the making. Several years ago, a small group of us started meeting to address the needs of our community. This small group was comprised of both gay and straight people who not only cared, but were dedicated to making our part of the world a better, more inclusive place. Those members included Melissa Terry, Becky Critchfield, Michael Burchett, Michael Benton, Wendy Bolt, and myself. Those efforts have been built upon over the years and have led to today's event, which is happening because of another core group of dedicated individuals: Savannah Sipple, Maria Torres, Kelly Hagan, Robert Hinkle, Dr. Rebecca Sims, Melissa Terry, and Taran McZee. I also want to thank our president, Dr. Kofi Akapo, for his continued support. If you are part of the LGBTQ plus community, I want to say a few things to you. We are thrilled to have you at BCTC, or one of our sister colleges if you are participating here today. We thank you for choosing us. We thank you for being part of this conference today, which indicates your desire to make the world a better place. We continue to grow and get better in serving you. Please continue to share feedback on how we can do that better. There will be an opportunity for you to do that today with a post-conference survey. On a personal note, my journey as a gay man has not always been an easy one. I lost connection with family and continue to experience discrimination like many others. But I am fortunate to have many individuals that support, push, and rally by my side. We want to be that support for you. If you are an ally, I'd like to say a few things to you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being part of this conference today, which also indicates your support for making it better. Allies to the LGBTQ plus community have been instrumental in our fight for rights, as they have been in every minority struggle. Allies can be an important bridge between communities by empathizing with the struggles of one minority and expressing the need for change to the majority. Nothing can truly be accomplished in any form of society until the need for change is acknowledged by most of the people. Thank you, and please continue to help. I just finished the book Gay Like Me by Richie Jackson. In talking about his book, the author said the following: "You can't 100% claim your place, your spot, seek your life, if you don't deem your essence worthy. We know you are worthy, and we want to support you in that claim. Thank you for being here. Thank you for demonstrating your desire to learn and make a difference. I hope you find the day both educational and enjoyable. Welcome."
Hi, I'm Kelly Hagan, Conference Project Director and Co-Coordinator for LGBTQ Services. I wanted to take a minute before I formally introduce our keynote speaker and just say thanks to Dr. Rebecca Sims and Savannah Sipple for being so essential and so just incredible in keeping us organized and resources that allow us to present this conference. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Just Fund Kentucky, which was a grant we were able to receive to make all this happen. So now I'd like to take a moment. I'm going to share my screen with you. And let me see where I can get. Still looking. There we go. What I'm going to do now is introduce to you Dr. Floyd Harden. As soon as my PowerPoint pops up, here we go. So I'm hoping that everybody can still see me and hear me. Let me make sure I've got all this. Okay. So now I'd like to talk to you and present Dr. Floyd Harden. Dr. Harden has served in education and the community, building for nearly 2 decades. He has served in leadership roles in the metropolitan Atlanta, Phoenix, Detroit, Lansing, and Washington, D.C. areas. In the D.C. area, Dr. Harden worked with the Jimmy Carter Presidential Center Educational Programs Department, attending meetings on policy and governmental procedures. He also conducted workshops facilitating the passions of the Carter Center, including national growth, education, health awareness, and racial tolerance. While in Atlanta, Dr. Harden served as an HIV/AIDS counselor, student mentor in Phoenix's Roosevelt School District, and helped create a junior high college bridge program. Yes, you should be seeing a PowerPoint. If you're not seeing it, I did share it. Oh, okay. Some people weren't seeing it. Sorry to interrupt my presentation. So I'll start from the middle. Here we go. Thank you, guys.
Seeing it. Yep, we see it.
Thank you. Okay, so sorry about that. With this commitment in education, diversity, and community, Floyd Harden III worked with the local and national branches of the NAACP, the Human Rights Campaign, Aid Atlanta, and Child Help. Dr. Harden received his doctorate in organizational leadership from Pepperdine University. His dissertation was entitled African American Gay Male Entrepreneurs, a study of enabling and inhibiting factors impacting entrepreneurial success. He is the Senior Officer of Outreach, Inclusion, and Strategic Partnerships at Rio Salado College in Tempe, Arizona. And without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Floyd Harden.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. I'd like to start off by saying, hey, bro, hey, sis, hey, Briss, hey, sir, hey, ma'am, what's the tea, what's the gag, girl, hey, or in other words, just good morning. Hello, family. I hope everyone is doing incredibly well this morning. I bring you a hearty hello from the Valley of the Sun. I want to, first of all, Kelly, hello. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it. I'm going to be sharing my screen a little bit later. So everybody bear with us as we challenge and trudge through these technology challenges. So want to say good morning, want to say hello. Kelly, thank you so much for the introduction. I want to take a quick moment to thank Dr. Feeney, thank Mr. Taran McZee for the invitation. I want to also thank mi amiga, Senora Maria Torres, for all of her technological assistance. So thank you, Senora Torres. Dr. Sims and the Planning Committee, I want to thank you all so much for going back and forth with me and helping me get acclimated. So thank you all. And then first and foremost, just most importantly, actually, thank you to all of the students. I want to thank the students for taking time and investing in their future, investing in themselves today. I just wrote down some of what Dr. Feeney was saying about deeming your essence worthy. And that is what today is all about, is really solidifying the foundation of your worthiness and allowing everyone an opportunity to show up their whole selves and celebrating everyone in their wholeness. And so I just want to say thank you so much for the students that are here today, for taking this step and really solidifying and pouring your foundation into worthiness. I think it's incredibly important. And so with that, I want to really kind of start out with the idea, as I was reflecting on our theme, creating understanding. I want to have fun this morning. I want this morning to really set the tone for a day of learning, a day of reflection. And as such, I just want to kind of start out with the idea that we are our brother's keeper, we are our sister's keeper. And as I reflect on the LGBTQ2IAA Two Spirits Plus acronym, I'm reminded that, and I think it's important that we say it out loud, right? That trans lives matter, that Black lives matter, our gay lives, our lesbian lives, our Hispanic lives all matter. And all of those identities that are reflected in that very special mashup of letters, they all matter. And I think that it's incredibly important for us to recognize and for us to put out there that for those of us, especially our allies, and for those of us who identify with the more visible parts of that special acronym, that we advocate for those who are less visible. And I want to offer that we don't win until we all win. And so as we reflect on what does that LGBTQIA2, and it goes on, right? As we reflect on that acronym, that all populations within that space matter. And it's our responsibility. And I'm challenging you all, especially those that are here today, because you are leaders, because you care, because you are pouring into yourselves, that it's our responsibility to make sure that we all win and all boats rise together. And so our theme, right? Creating understanding. And so when I think about creating understanding, I think about the idea of, the famous quote, seek first to understand, then to be understood. I think about the power of words, the power of thoughts, the idea behind perspective shifting, creating universality, and inviting people into spaces where mutual trust and mutual respect thrive, right? And as I think about the theme, I also think about the power of how words coupled with action can literally change lives and trajectory. And so today I want us to explore and really think about what does it mean to create understanding in our personal lives. Again, revisiting the idea of deeming your essence worthy, right? This idea of worthiness. Also wanting to think, let's explore the idea of creating understanding in our academic lives. What does that mean? And then lastly, what does it look like from a professional standpoint and or a leadership perspective? How do we begin creating understanding, and what does that invitation to others look like? And so to help us kind of get us in the mindset and to think about the power of words, the power of perspective shifting, I want to show a quick video clip. So bear with me as I try to take command of the screen and show the video clip. I've only done this once with Maria, so hopefully it works. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, Dr. Floyd.
Awesome. Go ahead.
What did you do to my sign?
I wrote the same, but in different words.
Thanks,
All right. Let's see. trying to stop sharing now. Okay. I believe I've stopped sharing. Can you all hear me okay now?
Yes, Dr. Floyd. Yes.
Okay, perfect. I think there's a little bit of a delay, a little bit of a lag. All right. There we go. I think we're all back online, right? So,
Yes.
perfect. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I miss seeing your faces. I wish I was there with you all. But this is the next best thing. So, I really enjoy that video, particularly because it really is poignant in helping us understand the value of our words, the value of perspective. You know, at the end, she says, the gentleman asks, "What did you do to my sign?" And her response is, "I did the same, I just changed the words." And so for me, that really helps to articulate just how powerful our words are. And I want to ask the audience, I want to ask the family out here, how many of us have heard those messages, negative messages around our race or our orientation, anything that we're doing, our ability to succeed. My own journey, my own personal journey has been to understand my worth. And my own journey has been peppered with hardships, but also with beautiful, beautiful moments where words have mattered and where words have changed my own trajectory. And so I'd like to get a little personal with y'all, if that's good, because we are all family here. I busted out one of my old journals from back in college. And so I'm going to share with y'all a journal passage. For those of you that know me and know me well, know that I actually journal every morning and have done so since I was about 16. And so I was at my mom's house a few days ago, rifling through my old belongings and found my old journal as I was prepping for this talk. And I found a passage actually that was my first birthday in Atlanta after I had gone away for college. And it was the first time I kissed a boy. I don't know if my mom is on here, but it was the first time I kissed a boy. And about that growth and, again, deeming my essence worthy, finding my worth. And so I had just turned 18. I won't give you the date because that might date me, but I'll keep that quiet. But it was October 19th. And it says, "Today was a good day. It was my first birthday away from home. Atlanta has been very, very cool. Morehouse has been fun. And he has made this experience for me." And then my journal passage goes on to talk about Morehouse a little bit more and about the day and the birthday. And I want to pick it back up toward the end here, where it says, "And then he kissed me. He tenderly kissed me, and as he pulled away, my head was still rested in his hands. And as I was opening my eyes, he whispered, 'You are beautiful.' This is the first time I'd ever heard those words from another man. 'You are beautiful.'" I read this to you because for so long I struggled with my own worth, and I struggled with my own understanding, trying to understand if I was enough, often overcompensating. And it was those three words, "You are beautiful," that really halted my struggle. And it really began to lay the foundation for healing. And so, personally, as I think about creating understanding and what that means, I'm reminded of poignant moments in my life where healing really occurred. And so now as I think about our theme, creating understanding, I'm reminded of my partner. And with my partner, I am most famous for getting my way. And It's been pretty great so far. Incredibly persuasive, but with my partner, I'm most famous for getting my way most times. And then also amongst my friend groups, I'm always and have always been told to be the person at the forefront of negotiations, especially when we were in college. And I actually write about some of that in my journal here, but was always told to be at the forefront of negotiations. So whether it was getting us into the club, that had already closed, or getting us into that closed course for those students that are on the call, that closed course that that is reached capacity and trying to negotiate with the instructor to get their signature to let you in. I was always the one to be pushed to the forefront of those conversations, and I always thought that I don't know if you can see or not over Zoom. I wish we were in person, but I have these like long little eyelashes, and I used to kind of bat my eyes a little bit, and I have these funky, funny little, cute little beaver teeth, and so I always used to flash a sly smile. And so I thought it was because I was cute that I'd get us into the club and get us into our psychology classes that were overbooked. But then a couple years ago, I actually was crushed to find out that it wasn't that at all. I had a mentor of mine tell me, Floyd, what you are doing is you are inviting people to better. And so I say all of that and I wrap it in humor. But what understanding is inviting people to better. And my mentor told me is what you are doing is you are inviting people to and for better. And not better in the sense that it was a comparison or a magnification of the lack of something or of what someone else had or didn't have or didn't aim to do. But I was offering an invitation to more than that was currently being experienced or more than that was currently being offered. What I was doing was helping people come to the conclusion and to the understanding that I was worthy, that I was better, that my friends as a collective were better, that your class would be better with this group of friends and this group of scholars in your class, that the ideas that we offer were better. And it is this invitation to better that helps create universality. It's this invitation and this idea that together we are better that really helps to solidify the commonalities between seemingly different people. It's this invitation to better that often transcends trials, transcends challenges, traumas, and tension, but that creates spaces for us to grow with mutual respect. And so as I think about this invitation to better, I think about our schools. We all want better schools. We all want better opportunities for our families. We all want better or more professional opportunities to grow economically. And it is through creating this understanding, this invitation to better together, that we show that life with us, with you, it's better. And it's better because you believe life with you is better. And that was something that I had to grow into. And it was those 3 words at 18 on my birthday, "You are beautiful," by someone new in my life that helped me understand this invitation of better. It was that invitation that helped me look at myself in a much better space. And so today, as I think about our time together and as I think about your experience in this conference, I want you to think about creating understanding as merely extending people an invitation to experience better with you at the center of it. And so I want to switch gears just a little bit and think about this idea of creating understanding in an academic context. And again, wrapped up in storytelling and humor, I like to call this sort of the hide and go seek of success. So growing up, I was a short, robust child. I was very round. And so hide and go seek happened to be my favorite game. And I often hid behind bushes or tires, all of those things that were round because I fit well. And so as we think about this idea of hide and seek for success, I want to share with you there are 3 rules that you, number 1, play the game, you learn the rules of the game, and then you play the game to win. And so being this small, short, robust child, I wanted to play the game. And so what did that mean? It meant that I had to find spaces that could accommodate my girth. And so for an academic standpoint, what that means is I need you to be engaged for our students. I need you to be engaged, I need you to be intentional, and I need you to be strategic. So just as I actively and intentionally sought out structures that could camouflage or hide my person in order to play the game, I invite our students to also play the game of education. Be engaged in what you're learning. Make it fun for you. Be intentional in the classes that you choose. Clarity helps to endorse excellence. Be strategic in the courses that you choose. Be strategic on your path. So play the game. Secondly, learn the rules of the game. So, as I mentioned, I was a round child, and one of my favorite hiding places was the dryer, because I could sneak in and it was round and it was big enough to house me. However, one time playing hide and go seek, I broke the dryer. And so the new rules of the game became that you could not play hide and go seek in the house. And so you have to learn the rules of the game in order to win the game. And so for our students, what I would say is learn the game so that you understand the rules of the game. This is your opportunity to change your life. When you know the rules of how education works, you're able to quickly expand your trajectory. This is your opportunity to change your life. So understand when your semesters start, when your semesters end. Make sure that you take it upon yourself to become to know your professors. Understand what is expected of you in your syllabi. Understand your professors. Apply for the internships. Apply for the externships. Apply for the apprenticeships. Understand the rules of the game so that you can become successful. And then lastly, the third rule, play to win the game. So after years of playing hide and go seek and a little bit of puberty, I lost some of my weight. And so I was able to secure more hiding places were able to accommodate me closer to home base so that I could eventually win the game. And what I would share with our learners is in this space, understand the game so well that you can win the game. And what does that look like? That looks like graduation. It looks like making sure that you are clear in those steps after graduation. So play the game, play to learn the rules, and play to win. And so as we think about playing the game, as we think about creating understanding for ourselves personally, right, understanding our worth, as we think about creating understanding from a space of our academic experience, learning the game, and making sure that we're successful there, I want to show a quick, another quick video clip that really helps to tease out important traits of leadership, of understanding professionalism. It's a quirky Saturday Night Live clip, so bear with me as I go ahead and share my screen one more time. Get in, get out, get in, get out, back and forth, back and forth. I really enjoyed this clip because not only is it sort of comical, but you can really, as I said earlier, tease out so many different leadership traits, such as clearly defining expectations, the importance of decisiveness, flexibility, understanding direction. Toward the end there, you may have noticed that the cab driver mentioned having had a bad day, right? And creating understanding. How different would that experience have been if the couple that was seeking transport approached the cab to say, hey, we've got $20. We're looking to go to the Upper West Side. We need to make a stop there before we get there. Are you willing to engage with us in this experience? And so I play that clip because it shows, again, the idea of perspective and perspective shifting. And the grumpy cab driver telling people to get in, get out, get in, get out. He too had his own story. And it is our stories that make us powerful. It is our stories that help us begin to create those ideas of commonality and universality. And so, as I matured from the club to the classroom to career, and sometimes I still go to the club, I just wear a mask now, but as I matured from space to space to space, bringing this idea of invitation to better, this idea of worthiness is so incredibly important. I brought this idea and this idea of the invitation to better with me from space to space. And from a leadership perspective, from a professional perspective, I believe that leadership is truly the ability to educate, mentor, teach, and truly touch the lives of others as we strive toward a common goal. And so this invitation to better means that you invite people to interact with you at the center of this in your whole self, not in segments, not code switching, but that you are inviting people to experience the fullness of you. We cannot be less gay. We cannot be less Hispanic. We cannot be less Black. We cannot shrink our light as a response to others' discomfort. So today, especially for our students, today I implore you, please shine brightly. Shine so brightly that you inspire others to do the same. Marian Wright Edelman often talks about the ideas of shining and that your biggest fear is not that you are inadequate, but that you are powerful beyond measure. And so today in this conference, I implore you to bring your power, bring your ideas, and bring your light. So in closing, I'd like to read a quick passage by Linda Sarsour. And in Linda Sarsour's book, We Are Not Here to Be Bystanders, there is an amazing passage that talks about the fullness of self, bringing your whole self to the occasion. She states, "We must never negotiate away or compromise our principles and our values. Instead, we must bring all of our complex identities to the table. We must transform those spaces in which any part of us are not welcome. We must do so because our future, our country's future, and the world that our children will inherit depend on our courage and our commitment now to show up holistically." So today, and for the rest of the day, and for the rest of your lives, I invite you all to invite others to better. I invite you all to show up holistically. And lastly, what I would like to do, because I have you all on gallery view, I can see most of you that have your cameras on. I'd like for us, if we could, to close our eyes. Still see some eyes there open. Close your eyes, and I want you to think of a time that you brought your whole self to the occasion. I want you to close your eyes and think of a time that you felt powerful. I want you to close your eyes and think about a time that you were able to be holistically engaged. And as you're thinking about that experience, what I would like for you to do is find one word that summarizes that experience. And if you would, put it in the chat. For me, I think about my journal entry. That was one time where my guard was let down and I was able to show up my whole self. And my word, I felt beautiful. And I will put that in the chat. And so today, as you go on throughout the day, I invite you and I challenge you to use your word. I invite you to use that as a lead to introduce yourself. Today, Autumn should be loved. Stephen should be brave. Floyd should be beautiful. Scott should be fulfilled. Introduce yourself with your story. And so with that, I will go ahead and close, but I'm so excited for your learning today. I'm so excited for your experience today. And I know that Mr. McZee, Dr. Sims, and the planning committee have all prepared for you a great conference. And I know that you'll depart with some tips and tricks to show how to better drive your own taxis so that people don't have to continually jump in, jump out, jump in, jump out, but you're able to invite people to excellence. You're able to invite people so that you can show up better, so that you can show up your whole self. So you are worthy. And once more, I want to echo the sentiments of Dr. Feeney and not only welcome you to today's conference, but I challenge you to push beyond your comfort level, to learn something new, to lead with your power. And even if it's just someone's name, learn something new, because we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper, but we cannot keep them if we do not know them. And so to our students, especially, I want to thank you all for, again, your investment in yourselves, and to all of our staff, faculty members, and to the planning committee. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share some time and space with you all. At this time, I'd like to turn the program back over to Kelly and the planning committee. Thank you all.
Dr. Harden, if you don't mind, I was going to open it up a little bit to see if anyone has questions for you.
Sure.
So does anybody have any questions? If so, just use the raised hand icon or just type it into the chat, and Robert and I will be looking for those. So any questions from anyone? Oh, come on. I know you people have questions. Don't act like you don't. That was too fantastic to not have questions. So I'll ask a question then. Dr. Harden, what would you advise, I should say, someone who is considering coming out to their family and they're concerned about support? What would you encourage them to do?
Sure. I think the first thing that I would encourage them is to really understand their why, right? You know, I think so often this idea of coming out can be so daunting and can be so incredibly draining emotionally, mentally. I would ask folks to really consider their why, right? And I have a really great buddy of mine who's heterosexual, and he was like, Floyd, I've known you were gay. I've known you were gay. He was like, I often wondered, is that why you tried so hard in school? Is that why, you overcompensated in other ways? And I was like, yeah, it absolutely is. So I think for me, my advice would be to really understand your why, and understand, what does freedom look like for you? Quick story, I finally came out when I was about 21, and I did it under the auspices of a relationship. I really do not like my own coming out story. I don't like the reason that I came out. But I love that I came out as early as I did, because that allowed me so much freedom. I came out for a boy. I came out for a guy who said that he couldn't be in relationship with me because I was still on my journey. And so what I would share with people is, know that you're not alone, number one, but understand your why, and make sure that you have a community that can help to support you once you do come out. Because it's important that, as we talked about early, deeming your essence worthy, that you are worthy. And so it's incredibly important that as you are on your own coming out journey, that you are able to know that you're okay, and understand that it took you maybe years to become okay with who you are. And it's unfair, right? Mutual accountability. It is unfair, as we are coming out, to expect people to be okay with us, even though it took us years to become okay with ourselves. So allow people that space and that grace to be upset, because they have to mourn an idea of who they thought that you once were. And that's not a bad thing. What it is you're taking your power to say, you're claiming your freedom to be able to say, this is who I am. And you're allowing folks to become okay with who you are.
So how important was your parental support when you came out?
That's a great question. As I just mentioned, that mourning process, I actually told my parents individually. My mom is great, but she has a very strong personality and a very strong presence. And I have a very special relationship with both my mom. My dad has since passed, but both my mom and my dad. I had a very, very special relationship with both of them. And so for me, it was important to tell them separately because I wanted that moment to be with them individually. And so with my dad, he was my biggest cheerleader. He asked me as soon as I came out, he always asked me, he was like, did you think that I would love you less? And the response was, I didn't know, Daddy. I came of age in Atlanta, down south, where it still isn't necessarily popular, if you will, or readily accepted. And so I had friends that, and I'm a very sex positive person, right? So sex work is still work. As mentioned in my bio, I did a lot of volunteering with HIV/AIDS crisis and in counseling centers. And so I knew a lot of folks who did not have that opportunity or have that support system through college, who had to resort to different types of methods to support themselves economically. And it wasn't something that I wanted to do. It wasn't something that was of interest to me. And so, not understanding how my parents would react, I waited until I could support myself. And so, when my dad said, did you think I would love you less? Again, the importance of perspective, right? Daddy, I didn't know. This is the life that I was living. I was helping friends of mine. I was counseling. I saw on a daily basis babies, boys, young boys and girls that were put out on the street, that were left homeless because they were claiming their truth, right? And so, so my own coming out story with my parents, I absolutely believe it was the exception and not the rule. But there were a lot of things, that mutual accountability, that I needed to make sure that I had ready and secure for myself before I invited people into my space, into my sacred space. My mom and I had some challenges, and primarily because, she was mourning this idea that she had of me, and that was okay. And so I had to give her grace and space to become okay with that. The conversation that I had with her was about respect as adults. So you don't have to agree with it right now. You don't have to love it, but I love you. And as adults, we can respect each other as we're both going through this journey. So, yeah.
Thank you. One more question. So in an ideal world, what would you love to see colleges offer that would be really supportive or helpful to the LGBTQ plus community?
Sure. I think those needs for each, that it's not a monolith, right? That it's not a monolith, right? I mean, I think, as I mentioned earlier, the idea of trans lives matter, right? How many of our trans brothers and sisters, our trans students, as they begin to move into the identity that is truthful for them, don't have a space or a place where their identification cards match their identification internally, right? So being able to help support our trans brothers and sisters so that they can really fully enjoy the full expression of their freedom, right? Because, and I think, again, as I mentioned, that beautiful mashup of words, there are some within some populations within that mashup of words that are much more valued or visible than others. And it's not fair. So we get into the conversation, to the equity and equal conversation, right? So it's such a short story, I would say, that we are not a monolith. And so really dissecting the responsibility of the colleges to really dissect that beautiful mashup of words to say, what can we do for our dually spirited students? What can we do for our trans students? How do we support our allies? I had a great conversation with Mr. Tran McZee this morning right before the call, and we were talking about what does allyship look like, right? You know, so many folks are afraid to be allies because that calls into question their own sexuality, and then they have to deal with ideas of shame and guilt around that. So I want to help my brother and sister, but I don't want to necessarily be perceived as gay or lesbian or what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's the college's responsibilities to not see it as a monolith, to really dissect each population and make equitable change.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn this over now to Robert. And once again, thank you so much. It was really great to hear you speak, and everything that you had to say was so important. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be with my family, to be with my brothers and sisters this morning. I think it's great. Like I said, you know, when one of us wins, you know, we have the responsibility to make sure that we go back and all of us win.
I agree. Okay, Robert, you're up now.
Thank you, Dr. Hardin, for that inspiring keynote address. And I'd also like to thank our provost, Dr. Feeney, for his very warm and inspiring opening remarks as well. My name is Robert Hinkle. My pronouns are he, him, his. And along with Kelly Hagan, I am the co-coordinator for LGBTQ services at BCTC. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you weren't excited before the conference began this morning, I know that you're excited now.